Hello and happy Thursday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. Another episode of On the Wrong Lead Live. We got boomed by a huge price at Turfway just before we went live, of course. So, hey, it just means we can run back to pick three. So I know Mark's already got a pick three concocted. I'm doing the old run back because yeah, $50 horse just went just split the seams and got up there in that last one. So hopefully somebody had it out there in chat. We'll see if anyone cashed a nice little ticket, but it's been a rough time for me at Turfway. I had a nice pick five. I hit December, and it's just been cold as ice since then. But Mark, you were smart and you stuck with what you knew. You're playing Delta, and I think you said
Yep.
you're live in the pick five here at Delta. We got 13 minutes to post here, but yeah, you're at least live in something. So
Yeah, no, I'm live on the pick five to the 4, the 7, and the 8. This is a really, really tough race. Bottom of the barrel maiden claiming race. Bunch of horses that have a ton of losses. This is the kind of race I normally like to try to find a fresh face, find somebody who's coming in from out of town, or a first time starter or something like that. But all of these horses look just garbage. There's no quality in here as well, and I took the three kind of quote unquote obvious horses. The 4 is like 0 for 23, but has Vincenti Del Cid up, so he'll definitely will be a horse that is live just on sort of jockeying connections. And I don't know, they stuck that one in a mid special weight last time out, which got absolutely destroyed in getting back to probably what's the appropriate class here, or the appropriate level. And then the 7 and 8, I think, are the two more obvious horses, probably fit the profile it's been working tonight. You've wanted to be, and a couple of people I've been talking with have been saying that they thought speed was really bad. I don't think it's been bad. You've wanted to be forwardly placed. We've had two horses wire, but I don't think you want to be too far off the pace. But maybe sit a pocket trip, and I think the 7 or the 8, one of them probably does. The problem is you have a bunch of horses here that have shown that they don't necessarily want to pass other horses. So I'm live to 3. Payouts are actually very, very nice. I'm kind of shocked at the payouts, but not a high confidence spot for me right here. I'm not sort of like, oh yeah, I have the right horses. I have the 3 obvious horses. Nothing cute in here. Just hopefully I can. One of them decides that they want to, get their photo taken today.
Caleb, how often do you think the maiden claiming jump, the jump from maiden claiming 5,000 to 43,000 special weight works?
At a place like Delta, I don't really think it's a big difference. But yeah, in some circuits, that's a throw out.
Dude, so I was talking to Mark before the stream, and I was like, all right, I gotta look at this. I gotta look at this last race at Delta, and I'm like looking at optics, and I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna play an 8 over 7 exact to straight. That's gonna be it. And then I look and I see it's a maiden claiming 5,000, and I'm just like, whoa, like this is rough. But what's not rough is Nick Sievers live in the double at Turfway in the contest. Started with the $50 horse.
Didn't Nick get that obscene pick 3 last week at Turfway?
Yeah, but that was on accident. Allegedly.
They still count. They still pay the same.
They do still pay the same. And of course,
apparently you even get BCBC seats for those. So
sometimes they pay even better.
Yeah. Stephen Fox says it works 95% of the time at GP. Stephen is just counting down the days until what's the next one? Fountain of Youth Day. Is that the next? Yeah, he's excited as heck. He's about as excited as he was when who was the guy that boomed him on Sunday? Caleb? Who
In
was
his
the
fantasy
player?
league?
Yeah, who was the player that just like went off and just like absolutely boomed him?
Was it Xavier Worthy?
Yeah, Xavier Worthy. Yep, good old garbage time touchdowns. Just you know, man, I'll tell you what, Stephen Fox. Like, if you want to find a way to like you're like, there's no way I can get beat. Stephen Fox will find a way to get beat.
His ability to get boomed in the most just obscenely brutal ways possible, like, it's a talent. It's I don't know how he does it, but it requires skill.
So Nick says the 4 was not that hard. One last out at this level shouldn't have gone off at that price. Wait, I'm looking at the wrong race. I was like, wait a second.
Well,
So
didn't you say that was
Peacock Road.
a big square or something, Josh? Like, you could get to the horse if you know.
It was not a square whatsoever.
Oh, okay.
It was a big old circle in Q4, which is, I get it. Like, I mean, I kind of had the same. I kind of had the same thought in race 6, and that I wanted to play off the pace horses. Um, I just thought that I thought the 8 was going to be the. I thought the 8 was going to be the goods. Honestly, Razzle Red. I thought that was going to be the closer that
He
I
ran
wanted.
terrible. I mean, he didn't run a step.
No, it didn't run a step. Didn't run a single step. Like
I
8,
also like the 8, so yeah.
8 got the trip that I thought the 8 or 4 got the trip I thought the 8 was going to get.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
yeah, it just so when I looked and I saw who won, I like Mark was just like, oh yeah, huge price. I was like, oh, but yeah, I mean $30,000 claimer. I mean, yeah, Peacock Road. I mean, probably shouldn't have gone off at 25-1. I mean, it was 10-1 in the book, but yeah, that's good. Oh, Russ is talking about Delta. You gotta be worried about Russ because Russ is looking at Delta because he wants to claim one of them. So I mean, I don't know if he
The
wants to
horse
claim
that
a $5,000 main claimer, but
Yeah, no, the horse that he mentioned is actually probably the horse that scares me the most, and that's the first time starter. I mean, I know the rest of the field is garbage. That one's yet to prove they're garbage. So, those kind of ones scare me. I think the other horse in there that scares me a little bit is the 11, just a horse that cut it off track last time out, and the first start was at a much tougher level down in Houston. So, horse probably getting to the appropriate level. Don't know if there's any quality there, but at least it's a lightly raced horse who hasn't proven they're terrible yet. So, those are the two that really kind of scare me there. But yeah, I somehow will find a way to Steven this. I'm sure.
yeah. At before we get into Fairgrounds, I mean, I guess we can talk Turfway Race 8 a little bit here,
Mm.
because yeah, I ran back to pick 3, and honestly, I'm not. I mean, I think I landed on the top 2 choices here, so I'm not. Um, oh wait, I'm looking at the wrong. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong race. Nope, I still landed on the top 2 choices even in that race. So, yeah, I have the 4 Golden Sunshine and I have the 9 Beach Wedding in this one. And Nick I think posted that it's been closers basically. So that was kind of how I saw it. And yeah, I think Golden Sunshine obviously in here, ran a nice race, closed in pretty decently in that one last out, and I'm taking another horse out of that common race, which is the 9 Beach Wedding. Um, you know, has a run since then, since that common race, and kind of just ran pretty evenly in that one. I mean, only really passed one horse, and I mean lost by 9.5 lengths. But I don't know. January's been weird at Turfway or January was weird with a lot of speed there. So maybe catching a little bit more of a closer friendly track maybe sets up better here for the 9. Um, But those are kind of the two horses I ended up with. Mark, I know you ran back a pick 3. What did you end up here?
Well, I not ran back. I actually fired a fresh one. Turfway is not a place I'm super comfortable with, but I agree with you on the 9. I think that's the horse that has at least the class to show, or at least the performance on the track to show you that one's probably a very likely winner here. The other horse I thought was neat was the 6 Whippoorwill. A horse that had it look like a fairly rough trip last time out. A jock who's very high percentage on the meet for the Kelsey Danner barn at 44% with a $6, a little over $6 ROI. So I thought the 6 who, I would give a shot to here getting over, I see 423 Synth Tommies. So, pedigree should really handle Turfway as well. So I thought the 6 was kind of interesting.
Caleb, did you have Synth Tommies on your bingo card for tonight?
I did not, actually. That was out of left field a little bit there, the Synth Tommy reference. But no, I am also running back the pick 3 since I also got boomed in the pick 5 last race. And I'm basically using I'm not using the 4, basically. I felt like he's had enough chances for me, especially at short prices. I mean, getting beat at less than 3-2 in his last 3 starts. He had some slow paces, but he also kind of strikes me, or she also strikes me as one who might actually be better going further. She might just need a 1 1/8 or, mile and 1.25 for that matter. She just seems like she always gets going too late in these races. So I think it was likely to be the favorite. She's one that, especially in a pick 3, I'm going to leave her off. And I essentially used all the outside horses. So I had 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm sorry. I had 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Looking for a lot of those 1-start horses like the 6, 7, and 8 who might improve second time out or might improve on the surface switch with the Synth Tommies. And then a horse like the 10, I think projects to get pretty loose in here, stretching out from a sprint to a route. I've only watched 2 races. One of them was wire to wire. One of them was a closer. So, if the track is playing to closers, maybe you downgrade the 10 a bit, but I still think he probably gets out there pretty loose the way I'm kind of seeing this race. So, I wanted to have some coverage here to anyone who I think could win, since I am going to try to beat the 4, who's going to be probably a pretty short price.
So you're implying you think Abel is, smart enough to read the form? Is that what you're going with here?
No, but I'm hoping the horse is smart enough to read the form.
Okay, cool. Good with that.
Honestly, at the price, maybe I'm kicking myself a little bit here. The 7 at 9-1. That seems pretty good.
You got Machado, Doug O'Neill. It's a War of Will.
Yeah,
coming off a bullet work. Ran fine in his first start. Now stretches out. There's a lot to like there. And that's a good price.
Although, if you want me to talk you into betting that horse, that was my B that I didn't play on my pick 3.
Oh well, I guess I got to toss this 4 and include the 7 instead. Let me do that real quick here while. Yoink. All right, I'm doing
9. Okay, cool.
I'm doing the what you're not supposed to do.
Canceling a wager?
No, I'm not canceling the wager. I'm not that dumb. I know how that works out. I am going 3x3x3 in a pick 3. So we'll hopefully no one's taking betting lessons here. Which if you are, I'd ask for your money back, even though these things are free. The way that we've been going, dude. Before we get into talking about, I think we got to talk about what is up with us talking these damn horses into the winner's circle lately. I feel
it's been bad lately. It has been bad.
It's rough, yeah.
Usually it's like one of us talking a horse into the winner's circle, and at least one of us has it. But I gotta say, I think the last 2 or 3 streams, there have been multiple horses that all 3 of us hate. Even Mark didn't like the horse, and they win. This has been a rough stretch, man.
I think it's just one of those times a year where it always seems like these winter months, and I don't know why, either short price chalk wins or huge price wins. And I think we're all kind of conditioned to find reasons to beat the short price chalk, or beat find reasons to punch holes in a horse. And I think oftentimes you see I don't know, we had horses running stakes at Tampa who yeah, they were running at that level, but they were running at much classier tracks, and they were getting a lot of class relief that we just weren't accounting for. And that stuff happens, right? Like I think there's some logical reasons to get behind it. And I think we were, I don't know, it happens, right? Like you can't be right all the time. It wouldn't be fun if that happened.
I mean, I like to be right some of the time at this point. Like, you know,
Last sequence at Tampa that we screwed up also paid obscene. It paid about like $50K or something. So
yeah, but one of those times is going to be one of us, Hopefully, maybe, I don't know. Dude, did I tell you guys, by the way, like, just like to tell you guys how bad I'm running, that pick 5 I hit at Turfway, I think was like the lowest paying pick 5, like percentage wise, to the parlay that happened all neat so far. Like it was like I think it paid like 60 or 70% of what the parlay would have paid. Like it was like just absolutely smashed. Like I should have hit for like 4K, and it was 25. Like right, I'm crying over $2,500, right? Like winning $2,500, but still, like even when I win, I lose. That's how I'm feeling. But I don't know. I thought this pick 5. Mark thought this pick 5 was brutal. I think pick 5s at Fairgrounds are often brutal because they get pretty decent field sizes. I think it's similar to, especially on these big days, and when they're on the turf, similar to kind of how Turfway is, with these big fields. So, Caleb, what did you think of this pick 5?
I thought it was fine. I mean, I didn't look at the weather. I feel like a lot of times we kept Fairground, they end up getting some rain and end up coming off the turf, and it kind of ruins the sequence. What's that, Mark?
There's nothing forecast through the weekend.
Okay, well that's promising. I thought it was a good sequence. I mean, it's a sequence that I don't think I can play just putting in like a single ticket for $48. Like I think you probably need to put a little more into that because there are some big fields. But I honestly didn't find a ton of like bombs I love that I must include or favorites that I truly hated. So like, I thought it was like it was a fine sequence. I'm not super excited to play it, but it's probably still one of the better sequences on the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would agree with you. I think this is a really good card, some very good betting races, but I had a very similar take. I had a really hard time tossing any of the chalks that I just was horribly against, and I also wasn't finding a ton of big prices that I really loved. So, do I really want to be using the 3 or 4 shortest prices on the board in every leg of a pick 5? No, I don't. So it's a tough sequence. We'll talk through some of the stuff here and some opinions I did have, but I thought it was really tough, really, really, really tough sequence.
All right. Well, this first race, you look at the two AEs, the 15 and 16 are just both speed horses. So, I mean, I don't know, man. I look at this race, and to my eyes, this looks like there's a bunch of speed in here. And you guys know I love betting speed, but I think I gotta take the off the pace horses in this race. I basically toss the speed. Like I mean, although in fairness, I think in this race most of the speed
could you
is going to
repeat
be
that?
that I'm tossing the speed.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Just checking.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I heard you right.
Yeah, I'm tossing the speed, and granted, most of the speed in here is longer prices, but I gotta imagine we get 1 or 2 scratches, and one of these outside horses draws in, and it's just gonna make it even more of a speed fest. So, my top pick, and I was between the 3 and the 4 here in top pick. I'm going to take the 3 based off of morning line price, but let's be honest. I mean, people are going to see Chad Brown and Flavian Pratt, and this horse's odds are probably instantly halved just by that. But I do think this horse has got a couple of races that fit in here. I mean, I think the race 2 back obviously fits in here, and that went off at 20-1 in that race, and probably wasn't wasn't expected to win that race, but put in a pretty decent effort there. The Brisnet figure came back fine. You got a The Virginia Oaks, going back to 2 years back, obviously that fits in here as well. So it's got some races going back, and one thing that those races kind of have in common is that there was a fair bit of pace in front of her in those races, and so I just think this might be a horse that needs a setup. Gets Flavian Pratt aboard, and yeah, I just think that this is one that's definitely going to be coming late. I do think Nick's saying the 3 is scratching. He's saying the 3 is scratching. So if the 3 scratches, then we're not going to need to worry about that. But the 4, Lovely Princess, I think is another one of the off the pace horses that makes a bunch of sense. I think you kind of just draw a line through the race last time. Was on the pace, and this was not a horse that's been on the front end. Like, granted, it was on a pretty big stretch out, but you look at the Fairgrounds races, and I think the Fairgrounds races look really, really good in here. So I like Lovely Princess in here. Wasn't sure what to do with the 5. I put a question mark on there. It's going to be short. They're going to see Jose Ortiz aboard here, and I mean, won the last race. What are you laughing at, Mark?
I'm going to get boomed by the 6 at Delta.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
The race 5 or number 5 is I just didn't think it was that fast of a race that came back. So maybe just caught a real soft field there. So we're gonna go ahead and I'm just not sure what I'm gonna do with it. Maybe ones that end up including, but the other one I'm using is the 14 Stir Crazy, and that one is just I mean, one the kind of the prep for this, but it was a sloppy track. I think the turf races look better. So I like this horse getting back to the turf. Has run very well when there's a fair amount of pace in front of her. And so we're going to go ahead and go with that. So, Caleb, while Mark reels from him losing both his and my money, where did you land, Caleb?
Yeah, I thought this was probably the hardest race in the sequence. I thought it was very difficult. And I think that's kind of evidenced by, at least in the morning line, your favorite's like 7-2, and there's a ton of horses in that 10-1 range. The horses you mentioned, like Lovely Princess and Nanda Dea, those are both Bs for me. Lovely Princess has a lot of back races that would probably win this race, but you have to go back over a year. There's 2 layoffs surrounding her last race, which was extremely poor. And you can make excuses for it, but as the favorite, I don't know if I want to, or as a co-favorite anyway. So a little tough for me, to take a short price on the 6-year-old mare who hasn't shown a winning race in quite a while and seems like something went wrong. But I do respect her talent. Nanda Dea, I just got to see a little bit more from her. She won a fine race at Keeneland convincingly, but this is probably a better field than that, and I think it's definitely a bigger field. So I think she's fine. And also your 14 you mentioned is also one I sort of have down as like a B with Stir Crazy, mostly just because I don't love the price that I think I'm going to get with Irad Ortiz aboard. But yeah, there's no reason that Stir Crazy can't win this race. So I'm not really going to try that hard to make an argument against her either. The 2 horses I liked as A's that we haven't touched on would be the number 2 Ghostly Gal. So this is a horse that really likes to run on the turf. And the form's a little bit, messy because she's coming off of a off the turf race in the Fairgrounds and then a synthetic race at Turfway where she ran fine. But if you go back before that, I mean, she rattled off 3 consecutive wins on the turf. Admittedly, it was easier company than what she's facing here, but 2 of those 3 wins were just by open lengths essentially. And then the last one, came back to be a pretty strong race for the level with a pretty good figure. So I think Ghostly Gal is a horse that I thought was getting back to the right surface, and given the lower profile connections and the last 2 races on the wrong surface, I thought she might get overlooked a little bit. I don't think she'll be on the lead, but I think she will be forward kind of in that first flight that tracks the pace. And then the other horse who I do like in here quite a bit, probably my top pick actually, is the number 8 Tufani. The Fairgrounds turf kind of is, well, I don't know if you mentioned it or not, but at least in this race, there is quite a bit of pace, it seems. And the Fairgrounds turf, as little as they've run on it, has seemed like it plays pretty strongly towards off-the-pace runners. Tufani is a nice closer who has been stuck behind some really slow paces in each of her last 3 starts. And in 2 of those 3 starts, she still got the job done. Admittedly, it was at Colonial, and she was a big favorite. But nevertheless, I mean, those figures came back pretty strong. The Fairgrounds races prior to that fit. I mean, she clearly likes this track. She likes to win, for that matter. I mean, 6 of 12 lifetime and 4 of 7 at this distance. 2 of 4 at the Fairgrounds. It's a horse that just always kind of shows up. And yeah, maybe last year was maybe just a slight cut below a horse like Join the Dance or Lovely Princess. But I think you're going to get a much better price. And I think she's one that's still kind of heading the right direction, where a horse like Join the Dance, for example, might not be getting a favorable pace setup and maybe, is a little over the top here. Only 3 for 26 lifetime, doesn't do a ton of winning. So for me, I thought Tufani gets a really good pace setup here and is one that at 10-1 who I'd want on all of my tickets.
Yeah, I was a little salty there, so I sort of missed some of Josh's plays. So apologies, Josh, if I talk about horses that you've already talked about. I mean, I didn't want that 12K, right? No, yeah, right.
12K.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Yeah, the one class drop on the field, and I don't use the horse, but I use the over 28 horse, who I know doesn't want to add. Anyways, yeah, I know. No, I thought Lovely Princess made some sense in here. I know Caleb picked her apart a little, and I do kind of agree that you have to kind of excuse the Bewitched. And McPeak isn't necessarily known for coming back off long layoffs, but they were going way too far in that race. She's done well at these fairground races in the past. And so, I think you probably get around that 4-1 price on her. And I don't think she's bad value there at that. The other horse I was a little interested in, and I don't know if anybody else has mentioned yet, is the 5 Nanda Dia who is a horse that, after shipping from Argentina is 1-for-1, really nice race at Keeneland. And again, probably to Josh's point here, I don't necessarily love any of the speeds here. I think somebody comes from off the pace, and I think this is one of that sort of group of horses who can come from off the pace. And Jose Ortiz has been riding really, really well as of late. So I thought that was a really interesting horse, and I think Lovely Princess and Nanda Dia are my two most likely players in here. Probably my 2 A's. The one other horse I thought was a little interesting in here, and again, you really have to squint to get this one, but is the 9 Champagne Rosé, who is a horse that, Brazilian import, who went 4 or 5 in Brazil, and last out caught an off track. And because of that, you're going to get all the dirtied up form you want, and you're going to get probably every bit of that 30-1. I like the horse the last time that they, the last time that she ran, clearly did not catch the surface that she wants to, do her best stuff over. And so I thought, she'll be on a kind of a flyer C-type play for me, but I think she's an interesting price in here in a race that, I don't know, you guys kind of mentioned a bunch of the mid-price horses that I think can all win, horses like the 1, the 2, or the 8. So nothing super interesting to add here.
All right, looks like the 4 is in the lead here.
Yeah,
9's making a move on the outside.
From here.
Huh?
4 looks like he's going to run away and hide from here.
Yeah.
Say that again, Caleb.
I'm trying, but
yeah, 6 is not going to get there.
Yeah, he finally got the right trip. I just thought he'd be further back than that in that race. That's kind of why I was trying to get away from him, but the race set up funny. I mean, a lot of the horses to the inside ended up sending, which I didn't really see happening, and it kind of made the race up a little quicker than I was thinking it would.
Yeah, Matt took a flyer on the 1, and the 1 just went out and went.
He did what he did last time, basically.
Yeah, 23-4, 47-4, and yeah, that 7 didn't run a damn step, so I don't know what the hell I was looking at, but. Yeah, Mark, you liked Champagne Rosé. I remember last time. We talked about Fairgrounds, and then we got the off track, and it was just kind of a weird. It was kind of a weird race. So.
And again, you're always playing the game with that kind of horse of what was the company she was facing in Brazil. I don't really know. I have no clue, but I know she liked to win, and I'll give her one more shot at what's going to be an absurdly stupid price.
Anything else on this race?
So I just want to get Mark's take. I don't know if you use time form or not when you cap this, Mark, but if you're a time form believer, don't you have to at least look at the 13 if you like the 14?
Yeah, I think you.
I mean, if you throw out the dirt races, I mean, especially off the layoff and whatever, I mean, Strikingly Spun runs almost the exact same figures as Stir Crazy, and she'll be 4 or 5 times the price. And Joe Sharp is having a hell of a meet. I don't know that I like the horse necessarily, but I actually didn't have the horse written down at all, and then I was looking just a second ago. I'm like, why can't this horse win? And other than the fact that she just hasn't won, really, I mean, it doesn't necessarily. It's a hard argument to make if you just look at figures.
I agree with you, right? But the thing is, she just doesn't win. I mean, she's 3 for 17 lifetime and 1 for 10 on the turf. Her last win came out on a rained off the turf affair. So she's a horse that, yeah, I guess on paper she kind of runs those figures, but she just never wins. And I thought there were other places. Again, there's a bunch of horses in here that don't win, but I would be much more inclined to go after a Stir Crazy who's won her last 2 than to go after somebody like Strikingly Spun, although they run similar types of figures.
I mean, Stir Crazy is getting a jock downgrade though. Joel is getting off. Brisnet actually on the 13 really likes really likes 2 races. Really likes the race 4 back at Saratoga, and really likes the Presque Isle Downs race, which was a mile on the synthetic. But I mean, both those honestly fit in with this group. So, and that's 20-1 on the morning line. So, it was one I looked at, but I don't know. I think maybe I couldn't. I don't know. I couldn't get there. But yeah, I mean, those 2 races at least they seem to fit in here. I don't know if those are the 2 races on time form that look good, but
I mean, on time form, any of her last 5 except for her most recent race is right there. I mean, basically, yeah. I mean, anything back from that off the turf win in June at Churchill all the way through the Presque Isle race is fast enough to put her in the conversation at the board, if not win.
Yeah, and you also get paid a little. She definitely has some dirtied up form when you figure the last 2 are probably not the surface she wants. So no, I agree with you. She's an interesting, but you can go a lot of ways. If you're saying that somebody like her is an interesting player, there's about 5 or 6 other horses you can make a similar case for. So
that's why Caleb said it was a tough race.
It is a tough race.
Really tough race. I think it's a very, very tough race to start the sequence. So of the sequence, it's the one I probably want the most coverage in.
All right, let's move on to man. I forgot about half these horses in race 11, huh? Like this is like this feels like a race that they ran early last year at Fairgrounds. Because we got the Mine Shaft, grade 3, and your morning line favorite is going to be a horse that owes a lot of us money, or at least me and Caleb. Or maybe no, Caleb. Maybe you weren't on this horse. I know you were on Honor Marie. Maybe you weren't on Catching Freedom, but Catching Freedom is 3-1 in this race. Hall of Fame at 4-1. Batten Down at 4-1, which was probably one of the few winners we got on that Hawthorne stream we did live at the OTB for what was that? That was Ohio Derby Day, and 9-2 on Tuscan Sky, 6-1 on Warrior Johnny, 8-1 on Comorbino Omoid. No idea there. And then you get double digits on everybody else. Mark, where did you land here?
Yeah, as the regular group lover of chalk, I'm going to be against Catching Freedom in this spot. And I know Brad Cox is phenomenal at basically every stat there is, and long layoffs coming back from he's very, very good at. But I think with somebody like Catching Freedom, I just want to see a race out of him before I get super interested. A lot of questions to ask. He's been beat by a bunch of others in here, and he's a horse that I don't know. He's 3-1 on the morning line, but I could see a world where he goes off at 9-5, 2-1 kind of thing, where they get crazy and throw a ton of money at him. So he's the type of horse that I sort of want to be in this spot, and I'll make him kind of prove it to me. 2 horses I was most interested in, because again, this is another race that I think you could go pretty deep with some interesting players, are Tuscan Sky and Hall of Fame. I know Tuscan Sky hasn't won in a while, and there's definitely some excuses in there that are I don't know, you yeah, you have to make a lot of excuses for Tustin Sky, but I think he gets on the front end here, which is what he wants to do. And if you look at his form on time for him, he fires a big fig every other race. So I'm hoping that Gulfstream Park race where he really didn't run much at all. It was just kind of a setup race for here, and he brings his best stuff. On his best day, he's kind of a 122, 124-ish time form fig horse, and that's as fast as anybody else in this race. And the other horse that I was interested in was Hall of Fame, who it can be a little bit more off the pace, or well, just behind the pace, I should say. But that last out figure came back huge. I don't know if it's a factor of him liking the off track or a little softer company, but at least time form wise, he's as fast, if not faster, than everybody else in this race. And he's got 2 wins in a row, so it seems like he's in pretty good form here to start out his 4-year-old camp. Well, I guess only one of them was technically a 4-year-old campaign race, but seems to be in pretty good form to start the year. And but the problem I really had with this race is I could go, I don't know, 6 deep in here probably, and you're going to be 6. I'm going to be 6 deep in an 8-horse field. So a lot of different ways you can go in here. I landed on those 2, trying to avoid Catching Freedom, who I think takes a lot of money. I don't know. Where did you guys go here?
I love Hall of Fame, so I'm just like punching at the sky because now I know that Hall of Fame's going off at 5-2 if Mark's on it. I don't know, but I don't know. What, Caleb? Do you like Hall of Fame too?
I do.
Yeah. All right.
Oh
this
God,
horse is going
sorry.
2-1. Forget it. Well, talk to me, Caleb. Who do you like in here?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't. So I capped this before morning lines came out. I did not. I thought Hall of Fame would be the favorite. I kind of still do. I thought if you can get 5 or 6 to 1 on Catching Freedom, I thought he'd be a horse I could have some interest in. But given the connections and Cox and everything else, that probably plus the Derby name recognition, probably not going to happen. So he's one that I will be against. I think it won't surprise me if he wins, but I do think Mark's right. You kind of want to see a race out of him because his Ohio Derby was pretty poor, and we just don't know how he stepped forward as a 4-year-old. And to his credit, I mean, the 3-year-old crop last year turned out to be pretty good. Sierra Leone, Fierceness, Forever Young. I mean, it turned out to be a pretty good group. So I do think that Catching Freedom gets, and also this argument applies to Batten Down as well to some extent. They get somewhat of a pass because they ran into a couple of really good horses and Fierceness, Sierra Leone, and even Torpedo Anna in that Travers race. So I'm not super against them, but I just think there's others I'd prefer to go towards, like Hall of Fame, for example. I'm not a fan of Tuscan Sky. I just can't trust this horse. I guess it could be every other race, maybe, but I kind of wonder if he's better on an off track as opposed to a fast track as well. And then I think some of those figures are a little like in the Discovery. I just don't think I believe that figure. So yeah, for me, I just think he's a hard horse to trust. And I don't like Irad getting up here. I'd much rather see an aggressive gate rider like Saez or Johnny V get up. So I don't think Irad fits the horse. So I'll be against him as well. The other horse I actually do like, and I have no idea how you say the name, is Comorbino Amoid, the Robertino Diodoro horse on the far outside. This horse is definitely going to get overlooked because he's done a lot of his campaigning at some C-tier circuits. But his last race at the Fairgrounds was really good. I mean, he went out there, contested a pace that was on the swifter side, and the race kind of fell apart. I mean, if you look at the horses that ran first and third, it was Hit Show and Skinner, who are both super deep closers. And this is the only horse that was involved in the pace that was around the finish at all. So I thought he's one that's going to be able to, kind of sit a similar outside stalking trip from that post and then sit off of probably Batten Down, I would guess, who gets the lead in here. And then maybe he can get first run a horse like Catching Freedom or, some of the other closers in here because I don't really see many closers in here besides Catching Freedom. So it's hard to find anyone who's going to trip out better than him, as far as the way I'm hopefully seeing the race.
Yeah, I'm only using 2 horses in this race, and maybe I'm going back to my usual ways, right? I'm taking Hall of Fame, who I think what's nice is at Churchill showed a little bit of versatility, right? Didn't get off to the fastest of starts. I mean, once he got to the straight, didn't look like a loser. I mean, just absolutely was gone. But was patient. Sat in I think third most of the way, and then made that one move, and just cleared, and then ended up going to the lead on the stretch out, the slight stretch out, mile 16th on the good surface there at Fairgrounds. Horse likes Fairgrounds, obviously. Was that very impressive maiden winner last year going into that Risen Star where the horse won by 10 lengths. And just never really seemed as a 3-year-old to only had those 2 starts, and we never saw again. So I don't know if something went wrong or what happened, but never really seemed to turn the page. But I, I mean, since that layoff, the horse has not done nothing wrong. And I like the fact that this isn't a horse coming off a long layoff here, unlike Catching Freedom, right? Who, obviously Brad Cox is very good off the long layoff, but I don't know. I don't know. Catching Freedom's coming into, I think, a pretty solid group of horses here. And isn't one that, like, I don't think Catching Freedom's that much better than these horses that it doesn't matter. There's a long layoff. Like, I think that we're going to see Catching Freedom a lot this year. I think he's going to be a big part of the older horse division, I think, this year. But I think I just want to see a race first. So Hall of Fame is probably my top pick in here, but I mean, it's probably going to be really short since all 3 of us are on it. I'm going back to Batten Down again. And maybe I'm like compromising myself by taking probably your two leaders here. But Batten Down, obviously after that Ohio Derby, kind of had this weird. I don't know if they just went in over his head, won that Ohio Derby, and then went to the Jim Dandy, ran fine. I mean, ran third to Fierceness and Sierra Leone, right? Who were the 2 best 3-year-olds last year. Nothing wrong there. And then ran 5th in the Travers, albeit by 11 lengths there. And obviously Fierceness, Torpedo, and Sierra Leone were in that race again. Comes back to an easier group there in the Bourbon, and wins comfortably on the lead. And then in the Discovery, I don't really know what happened. I don't know if just went way too fast, too early, and just kind of fell apart. But that's probably a group that he should be winning against. He'd also, like I said, probably run what he had run 8 races that year, which for the current state of the breed is a lot of races. So maybe just needed the breather at that point. But I don't know. I think maybe we get a little bit better of a price than 4-1 here, just because I do think Hall of Fame is going to take some money. I do think Catching Freedom is still going to take money and be short. So I'm thinking maybe we get closer to 6-1 on Batten Down here. And yeah, I don't know. I have a hard time not betting, what could be the speed of the speed in a race at Fairgrounds. So those are the only 2 horses I'm going to use. I'm going to use the 7. I'm going to use the 4. And yeah, I'm just going to try and get by with those 2.
Yeah, I looked at Batten Down for a long time, and kind of where I landed is I think he just needs a little further. I mean, if you look at his good races, they're all kind of at that 1 3/16, 1.25 miles. I mean, he does have one at 1.125 miles, albeit it was the Ohio Derby. And I just kind of think, I mean, maybe he's a horse that truly needs the lead and isn't comfortable going 23:46. But if he gets out there into stride and goes 24:47 and change, he can just, I won't compare him to Next because but something similar, just maybe needs to get into his rhythm. He is a Tappet horse. I think he's a full sibling to Tacitus, if I remember. So, I mean, he may just take a long time to get into stride. So, won't surprise me if he wins, but I was trying to figure out why I didn't use him. And I think that was my kind of concern about Batten Down there.
I can't wait for Gaff to try to turn him into a closer. I mean, that's the only reason I'm not using him is because of the jock change. So he makes a ton of sense, but that is, talk about a jock downgrade. And I realize, obviously I have a little bit of hatred for Gaff, but yeah, to me, that's just a massive downgrade losing Junior from him.
If Batten Down doesn't go, then it's like max bet on Hall of Fame then, right? So I
Yep.
feel like I got my maybe it is a good thing that I'm using both the speeds here, but like I think to Caleb's point, there is, we'll see what the 8 does, right? I do think the 8's probably more comfortable sitting just off. I mean, he'll let the 2 horses go, but he's gonna probably be right there in third, with that kind of pressing trip, and I think it's an interesting one in here.
Very much so. Very, very interesting race.
Anything else on this race? We got 9 minutes here till Turfway. This is race 9. Going back to my notes. Right now, the 1 is sitting at 2-1. The 4 is sitting at 7-2. The 9 is at 7-2, and then you get 5-1 on the 7, 6-1 on the 5. I mean, I'm not using the 9. I'm using the 1, the 4, and the 5 here. And looking at this race, I've kind of, like I said, been keeping with that theme of, trying to find kind of off the pace horses. Obviously, the 1 broke its maiden in an optional claiming race for some reason. Unless that's a typo. Is that a typo, Mark? Is that what you're seeing on your form too?
I don't have my form open. To 1 second.
Which I think is wild. First time start in the optional claimer. Like,
that is an optional. That's an optional. Yeah, and 1X optional. That's weird.
And like, it not even like, I mean, I've seen sometimes like where like you'll get like a maiden that's run a couple times and maybe they do something stupid like that, or they run in a stakes race, right? But
when's the last time you saw a horse get class relief off their first time start maiden break?
I know it's pretty wild, but obviously they're betting it like it. I thought the 4, had a nice closing kick at Ellis. Is getting Lasix for the first time here. Gets Alex's chart aboard, and yeah, I'm just looking. Like I said, I'm looking for the off the pace horses, and then the 5 as well. I like the 5 a little bit here on the cutback, and like, there's another one that has shown a pretty decent closing kick in turf races. So interested to see if we'll be able to see a little bit of that on the cutback here. Nick's saying that it was the last day at Woodbine, so maybe that's why they were just trying to get the horse.
They needed a spot.
6 furlongs, yeah.
Still crazy to win at that level, though. That's impressive.
Well, it's crazy. She went off at 5-1.
True.
Somebody must have known something. But yeah, I landed on the 1, the 4, and the 5 in here. I'm looking at the off the pace horses. But Mark, what did you got?
I got 1, 5, and 9 in here. I think you just kind of draw a line through the last out of the 9, and go back to the maiden break, and I think the horse fits very well in here. Another one that's going to be coming from a little more off the pace, maybe a little bit more forwardly placed than the 5. But that was the only other one, and I think we saw this race pretty similarly, Josh. So I don't want to really talk it to death.
Caleb, did you like anything here?
I mean, I do like the 1. I think he is your likeliest, or she is your likeliest winner. I guess I think Nick brought this up in the chat, which is exactly how I sort of saw this. I mean, I'm not usually one to really play follow the jock, but don't you have to think it's a little weird that, Beskiza and Machado are both off the Cox horse, and instead it's Fernando de la Cruz up? Not to mention Machado gets off of the 4 horse, who he rode to a victory for Eric Foster in that maiden breaker, and he ends up on the 7 here for Arnold Delacour. I mean, I thought that actually made me consider the 7 in here, who does appear to be progressing, is coming off of a layoff and adds Lasix here. I mean, some bells and whistles. So I like the 1 and the 7 here, just kind of trying to understand, one of the top pilots on the circuit is giving up a couple of pretty attractive mounts to end up here. So I thought the 7 deserved a little attention.
I mean, I also wonder is that, I could, if you want to make an argument that the 9's not live because Cox is 1 for 14 on the meet, sure. I mean, I think that's a good argument to be made, but but I don't hate that take at all, Caleb.
All right, we got 4 minutes to post, so we can maybe take a quick look here at Fairgrounds, and it is the Fairgrounds Stakes. We're going to be going a mile and eighth on the turf, presented by our friends over at Horse Racing Nation, and yeah, we got a field of 10 here. Caleb, is Money Supply the horse that I kept on betting last year, or was it a
Yep,
different horse? Was
that
it?
was fun.
Yeah. God bless it. Money Supply.
I think he actually
Uh,
won for you a couple of times, like way early last year, and then he lost for you a bunch of other times.
Yeah, I forgot what. Maybe it was the Mine Shaft. I think it was the Mine Shaft that I really liked him, and then like they decided to go crazy and like start running him on turf and stuff, and then yeah, I don't know. They lost the plot with me a little bit there. And of course, this is a turf race, so. But yeah, we're going a mile and an eighth here on the turf. Your morning line favorite is going to be Gigante or Gigante, however you want to say it, at 7-2. You got 9-2 on What Say Thee. You got 4-1 on Taking Candy, and then Unit Economics is the other one at 5-1. You get 8-1 or double digits on the rest. Um, and Caleb, I think I'll let you start. Where did you land here?
Yeah, this is the one race that I thought. Well, I won't say the one race. I kind of think all the races from here are pretty straightforward, truthfully. Not to say that you can single, but I struggled to make an argument for any big price in here. I think that Taking Candy is your likeliest winner. Didn't get the job done last time at a short price, but you know, Churchill can be occasionally funky. There's been some layoffs going on. Didn't have one of Cherie DeVoe's typical riders up, so you are getting an upgrade here for whatever the cause. I think Taking Candy is your most likely winner, but I do think the other horses, exiting that race, What Say Thee is arguably your second most likely winner, or maybe third most likely winner. I think they're both very live. I mean, What Say Thee wins pretty much, I won't say all the time, but 7 of 21. Mike Maker has just kept this gelding in really good form, with the exception of the one race where he tried to go way too far at 1.25 miles. Horse is very tractable, can come from mid pack or further back. Nothing really clever there. And then the other horse is Gigante, who again, all he does is win. I mean, 8 for 19. It doesn't matter if it's dirt, doesn't matter if it's turf, doesn't matter if he's very close to the lead or he's a little bit further back. He just wins. And he likes the Fairgrounds. He does need to see out the extra 16th of a mile, which he was unable to do in the Muniz Memorial here last year. That's the reason I kind of have him as my third likeliest winner, is because he is 0 for 4 at the distance, and it does seem like he maybe just loses a little bit of punch on that last 16th or last furlong. But I'm not going to leave him off because I'm not that concerned about the distance. But I think your top three are only three that I need. And I had a hard time making a case for anybody else.
So you're saying you're going to get boomed by Unit Economics then, right?
Absolutely not. That horse can't win.
Who's your top pick, Mark?
Unit Economics is six or seven lifetime in the exacta, very nice livery other pattern there. This is the every race, and I realize it's been a little while since the last race, but no, I mean I don't want to say necessarily Unit Economics is my top choice, but I think between if you're to really, Caleb mentioned all the major players with the exception of Unit Economics. I think the two that I want the most of are What Say Thee and Unit Economics. I mean, What Say Thee, it should be the closer with the best closing kick late, and seems to really love this trip. So, if he handles, the Fairgrounds, and I mean, obviously he's handled basically every place else, he should be a real force in here. And I think Unit Economics. With Pratt jumping up is a major player in here. I saw Gigante much the same as Caleb, horse that I don't know if this is the right distance, although this horse, is a really cool horse and does like to win, and horse I definitely have a soft spot for. And then, Taking Candy makes a ton of sense as well. Hard, horse to dislike in Taking Candy. I just would probably much prefer a different jock on Taking Candy. So, I think for me, my most, the ones I'm most interested in are What Say Thee and Unit Economics in this one.
I have 1A. I'm singling Gigante. I see a horse that is 2 for 4 at Fairgrounds with a 1 second. And the lone time that finished off the board was a 4th in this race last year on soft going. So maybe just one that doesn't like the cut in the ground. Because if you try and find the other race that is kind of bad, they're mostly on either they're mostly on good going. Like the Keeneland race, obviously finished kind of a flat 6th. And then I don't even know what that race is at Keeneland 2 years back, but that was another one that was on good going. So yeah, I mean, you'd think if a horse can get a mile in the 16th pretty comfortably, you'd think the mile in the 8th wouldn't be that bad. So, I mean, horses coming in good form. Obviously, won a race here, or last 2 races here at Fairgrounds, one on the turf, one on the dirt. And I just think that the way that the turf course has been playing is just kind of plays exactly into this horse's run style. So I'm going to try and get cute here, and I'm just going to single Gigante. I'm not going to use any of the other ones. Honestly, the one horse that I was interested in, Mark, was your horse, Unit Economics. If I were to use another horse, that would probably be it. And honestly, the reason is you see Flavian getting the point for Chad, and I don't know, the horse doesn't look fast enough to me.
Yeah, show me the race that's fast enough that wins. And this isn't a lightly raced 3-year-old. This is a 5-year-old gelding at this point. I guess I just don't see it.
I just didn't know if this is one of those like I said, I haven't looked at DRF, I haven't looked at the sheets, I haven't looked anywhere else, and I'm like, maybe this horse is just a lot faster on time form. On Brisnet, this horse looks about 5 points too slow, maybe even 10 points.
I mean, it's probably a closer gap on time form than it is with Brisnet, but he's still, there's horses in here with 126s, 122s, and his best is a 118, and he's kind of run that 3 or 4 times and hasn't broken through. I guess I just don't see a reason why he's supposed to step forward today.
I don't have a good reason. I mean, I really don't. So,
I mean, Flavian Pratt might be the reason. I mean, I would give you that. Dude, he's been riding lately.
Dude, he is dropping some legit knowledge in here. Look at this.
Yeah, Fortnite is fun in Twitch, saying Gigante was the chauffeur for mob boss Vito Genovese. He eventually became godfather of the Luciano crime family. So there we go. And then Marco asking about a horse double entered, Warrior Johnny. Yeah, he's double entered. Yeah, because what is this? This is a grade 3, and the other one was also a grade 3 though.
I mean, he's certainly like Nick said, they're certainly hoping this washes off and he can pick up a purse with a bunch of horses that aren't meant to be on this surface.
I mean, yeah, but there's 2 horses in here I think that are still better than him on dirt, and so
yeah, I mean, Gigante probably still beats him. You're right.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd rather be blessed. Ran pretty damn good, I think, last time.
And there might even be a version of Money Supply that would beat him. To be fair,
hey, dude, maybe that's why Money Supply's in here. Who knows? Because that was the whole thing I thought about Money Supply last time. Was I thought maybe that they were entering him only if it would wash off, and he ended up going off at 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what Frankie was doing, but maybe no one was probably beating those 2 that day, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, I kind of was with you, Caleb. I thought that this looked pretty straightforward. It was going to be one of the top 3 or 4 choices in here, so I'm going to try and single the 2 and see if we can move on. Nick pointing out that the 4 at Turfway was a 10-1 morning line. Double was looking like 4-1, and 1 at 8 to 5. Oh, the 4 just won. I wasn't even.
Yeah, I thought the 9 was going to wear the field, and then 9 or the 5. I think it was the 9. Or no, 5. I thought the 5 was going to wear the field, and then stopped badly in the stretch.
Really? I mean, yeah, I saw. Like I said, I saw 1, 4, 5. I'm actually surprised the 4 did take all that money late, because I thought for sure the 1 was going to be the favorite.
You gotta love the
Yeah,
Kentucky.
look at the double.
The Kentucky FU. They knew money.
Dude, the 4 was paying $15 in the double. The 1 was paying 6.
Yeah, 8-5 is kind of wild on that horse. I
That's
mean,
very wild.
off the big break with a jock switch, first time synthetic. Like, I mean, sure, the horse can win, but 8-5.
We'll see.
7 ran second. I mean, Machado gets off to lose to the horse he gets off of, but I've had a lot of seconds and thirds lately at Turfway.
Yeah, that's how I've kind of been. I mean, I'm live for $1 in the pick 3, but I've gotten what have I gotten chalk here? So I don't think this is paying anything, but we'll see. All right, let's keep on going here. The Rachel Alexandra, grade 2 for fillies, 3 years old. Caleb, when you said that this was the next couple of races were pretty straightforward, this was probably the race I was thinking of. I have a hard time getting around this 2 Good Cheer in this spot. I think it has shown versatility, has passed horses, and isn't with Sai as a board isn't afraid to go to the lead if they think that there's just not a lot of speed there. I mean, at second call, 3 back, Sias took the lead and just, was gone. Won that by 17 lengths. Last race, the Goldenrod, was second by a head at second call, was gone. I think Good Cheer is going to be tough to beat in here. Honestly, if I were to use another horse, and I hate to say this, but I'm betting a Chad Brown dirt horse. And that's the 3 Ballerina Doro, who just took a humongous step forward when switching from turf to dirt, which is not something you often see Chad Brown horses do. I thought was very, very interesting in here. I just have a hard time betting kind of a deep closer at in a 7-horse field at Fairgrounds. And I know Brisnet has got Good Cheer listed as a P4, but when I look at this race, there's no I guess maybe the 6 is your speed here, but even the 6 isn't. Was going to win a mile and went 23 and 3:47 and 2 at a mile, which still isn't even really blazing, So I just don't think that there's a ton of speed in this race. And so I just think that this might be Good Cheer's just going to trip out, is going to be able to sit second, take the lead whenever she wants, and is just going to be tough to catch. But Mark, I'm curious, how did you see it?
Yeah, I think I don't know. I hated this race. I thought there were 2 horses that made sense. Obviously, you've talked a ton about Good Cheer, who is 4-4 lifetime. Not a lot to really pick apart there. But the horse I think I'm a little bit more interested in than Good Cheer is the 6, Simply Joking. Horse that has shown some versatility, came from slightly off the pace first time out and a black type, at Fairgrounds, and second time out, wired a field. So a horse that has a little more speed, can be a little bit more forwardly placed. At least what I'm looking at, probably gets fairly loose on the front end. Should kind of set a real nice trip. So I think I'm a little bit more interested in in Simply Joking. But I also like the fact that this one has gone this trip, in that last out of fair. So, or almost this trip. It was a mile and 70 versus the mile and 16th. But I think it's one of those races where I don't have a good reason why I like that. It's very hard to draw a line between the 2 and the 6. I think I could use them both equally. I think the 2 ends up being much shorter. I like the trip. The 6 sits a little better though, so it's hard. I probably use them if I'm playing a pick 5 both equally, which is the worst thing ever to do. But yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see what Caleb says here, because hopefully he has something smarter to say than my idiot take the top 2 choices equally.
Yeah, and Nick said that the 3 is scratch for sure, and that this 3 is caught a fever, so is definitely out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bummer because I thought that was like your takeout reducer horse in here, honestly.
I did too.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I wanted no part of that 3, not with that run style and
Yeah, the
that
race doesn't set up
move.
for it.
It doesn't set up for it at all.
And unfortunately, I have nothing more intelligent than what Mark said. I think it's put the 2 and the 6, and I like them pretty much the same. I think the 6 has a pace advantage, which maybe I would give the nod to the 6. But the 2 is, Godolphin, Cox, Saez. And the horse isn't exactly, it's not like Ballerina d'Oro, who's a plotter, with no early speed. This horse can be a length or 2 off the pace and was undefeated, proven around 2 turns, proven at 2 tracks, sloppy going, fast going. Yeah, the only question is kind of what has she done in the 2 months or 3 months since we've seen her last. She ran really good races as a 2-year-old, but she didn't ever really step forward. She just happened to be fast and then just stayed fast. Whereas a horse like, Simply Joking maybe did take a bit more of a step forward from that first, second start. There's others that we have seen here that are progressing. Good Cheer has every right to step forward in her first start as a 3-year-old and off the bit of freshening. But it's just a little uncommon to me to see a horse that's kind of run essentially 3 of the same races as a 2-year-old. Just would have expected a bit more progression there. So I do have maybe a sneaking suspicion that perhaps she was just very precocious and caught a couple of, fields, like Indiana Grand and whatnot, or a sloppy track where she just really took to it. A lot of small fields, 3 or 4 races were 5-horse fields. I think she's going to be an underlay given her undefeated record. So I am inclined to lean on Simply Joking, given the pace advantage and the fact that I think there'll be a better price. But I'm not so against Good Cheer that I'm going to leave her at pick 5.
Yeah, I would say I think I'm a little more frustrated in this race. I normally like these type of races because oftentimes you have those. Somebody like the 2 who is going to take a ton of money on connections, and you can find that, oh geez, this horse that hasn't run in a few months and that 2-year-old stepping first time as a 3-year-old, they take a big step forward, and you can find those horses that get ignored on the board. And I just didn't see that horse in this race. I had a really hard time finding that horse that I went, oh, they're ripe to take that big step forward. We haven't seen them in a little while. They're they had some nice races. They're stretching out for the first time, and I like them on that angle. I think they're better going longer. It just felt like it kind of went through the 2 or the 6, and I had a hard time going anyplace else, which kind of stinks.
Yeah, with a different jockey, I probably could have gotten to the 1 who Nick Sievers brings up. With the rail draw and a race that doesn't have a clear pace setter, I mean, this horse has improved in every career start, does seem to be coming in the right way. Beat Take Charge Milady 2 back pretty handily, who came back to then beat Gal's Delight in that Martha Washington at Oaklawn last out. So, there are things to like about Anonyma, but I just don't like Irad on this horse because I think she's going to be better if she gets the lead, and I think he's going to probably try to rate. But with a different rider, I'd be more positive.
Wrong Ortiz.
Really, Brisnet? Interesting. I pulled this form yesterday, and it has
Jose's on the 1.
That's interesting. Well, in that case, I'm on board. I'm with you, Nick. There's the price horse. I think if I had a price horse, it'd be that one. And with the scratch of the 3, I was probably going to use the 2 and the 6, given that the 3 was in there, who I think would balance out, but maybe a poor betting selection, taking 2 short prices. But without the 3, it's hard for me to use the 2 and the 6. I may be inclined to let the 2 beat me and go to the 1 and the 6. It just depends on scratches and what I see on that day.
Yeah, I mean, my issue with the 1 is, I think you're trying to imply that the 1 goes to the lead, right? And I don't think the 1's fast enough to get the lead, at least on anything I'm looking at.
Yeah, I mean, she may not be. Like, I think the pace scenario is unclear here. I mean, I know we think Simply Joking gets the lead, but we handicapped that we did that sequence on stream, I believe. That was Lecomte, I think. And there was 0 speed in the race. You had a Brad Cox horse that Josh simped over that ran out the back at 4-5, who was, no speed. And, but like there was no speed in the race, so she inherited the lead. But I don't know really, she might be quick enough. And there's others in here with some pseudo speed. I mean, Aldean, for example. I mean, do you trust Delta Downs speed, or for example, or Gal's Delight, who showed speed last time and it didn't work? Do they try that tactic again? So I don't know. I'm thinking with the rail and with Jose up, maybe they get a little aggressive, but I'm not sure.
Nick mentioning about the 4, scratched out of the Silver Bullet Day, and then ran the next week at OTWL Park. Now back here, another field like needs to go at least under, or at least use underneath. Yeah, scratched out and went to the Martha Washington, and then finished 4th. Interesting that they come back here, but maybe just likes Fairgrounds more, because I mean that was a huge regression last time out.
Well, the note said, it said closer with no room, so it sounds like it may have been just a really bad trip. They might have a decent horse and they're looking to run back, and so I don't hate that. I mean, maybe if you're looking for that horse at a price that maybe has some upside, that might be the one. I think I would be more inclined to go with the 4 over the 1, but. I mean, again, you're trying to find the price in a race that I think really goes through 2 horses.
Yeah, Marco Lou, he's going to be using the 6, so good company there. And hey, if I'm not using the 3, maybe I'm going to be using the 6 now. Maybe I'm gonna luck into, not wanting to be cheap and use an additional horse, and maybe the plotter that would have lost me all my money instead shifts me to the speed horse that I should have bet all along. Who knows? I know, right? I'm not on the speed horse. I get it. All right, I can see Caleb's disappointing look. His phone's probably blowing up right now. Papa Knight's probably like,
He's
wait a second. I
upset.
turned down the stream for the first time in like a year and a half, and Josh is not on the speed. What is going on? But all right, race 14, main event here. The Risen Star, Grade 2, going a mile in the 8th here on the main track, and we got a nice full field. We got 13 horses here. And I forget. It was a couple of years ago that they changed this race, right? Because this race used to be, was it a mile or a mile and 16th? And they started making these races longer, I think. I feel like they actually, and I think since they started doing that, they started attracting bigger fields. I like to see, I mean, 13 horses. I mean, and you have a 9-5 favorite in East Avenue with a 13 horse field, which I think is absolutely wild. Because you know who East Avenue reminds me of?
Dennis's moment.
Dennis's moment. Thank you very much.
I knew it.
Thank you very much. We all saw it, and then as soon as that horse its nose hit the ground, it was all over, and the horse is never the same. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, even with the stumble and the Brisnet figure came back okay. I mean, I don't know how when the horse was out of the race completely, but I mean, really, even that Breeder's Futurity looks pretty good in here. So I'm going to be against, but I'm curious, Mark, where did you land? Are you going to be using East Avenue?
I'm so conflicted on East Avenue but it's mainly my inner Saratoga simp and the fact that it would be really cool to see like a Triple Crown be on the line with a horse that's named after the street that's 30 foot from the track, which would just kind of be a cool thing. But no, I tend to think this may be another Dennis's moment type situation where, and this is the time you're going to find out. Either East Avenue shows up and returns to form, and the Breeders' Cup Juvie was just a fluke, or this one falls off a cliff and is Dennis's moment 2.0. And we shall see on Saturday. I had some other interesting plays in here. I don't know if I necessarily want to get to my top choice quite yet, because I'm more interested in seeing how you guys saw East Ave, and also some of the other horses, like somebody like a Jonathan's Way.
Apparently Jonathan's Way scratched tonight. Let's see.
Okay, then.
Well, I didn't think Jonathan's Way could get the distance, so I was going to be against him. And I don't like East Avenue. This horse could win for sure, but it feels like there's a lot of speed in this race. A horse to the inside, like American Promise, feels like he kind of has to go. East Avenue is, he stumbled, but he certainly feels like you'd have liked to seen him do something in that race, right? Is the 9-5 favorite. He truly seems like a need to lead, very precocious type that, when faced with any adversity, I mean, it doesn't really respond. At least that's, what out of 3 races, that's what we've seen so far. So I'm inclined to stand against John. Oh my God, not Jonathan's Way, East Avenue. I won't be totally shocked if he wins because his Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland is probably the best race anyone here has. But I think that was also a bit bias-aided, and he had a very, very clean, comfortable trip on the lead. And it's not like we've seen Ferociousness, whatever his name is, to come back and run super well. So, East Avenue is one that I won't be shocked if he wins, but I'll be against him. I need to see something that I haven't seen from him before I can bet him at 9-5 in a 14 horse field.
Well, actually, because we're talking about East Avenue and because I got a text message from our friend Matt DeSantis this week, I do want to ask Caleb, are you going to Saratoga this summer?
I have no plans, but probably.
He was asking me, he's like, what week are we going up there? And I was like, we haven't discussed it yet. And I'm like, what better time to discuss it than live on stream when I just completely, just.
I mean, I do know a guy with Belmont Stakes tickets. Just saying.
Yeah, I saw how much that guy paid for those Belmont Stakes tickets, and that's basically my entire trip plus my bankroll for a week.
But what if you get that raised?
Huh?
What if you get that raised though?
Wait a second. What if you hit a pick? What if you hit a pick 6 while you're at Saratoga again?
I mean, that has happened before.
It has happened. I was
on
there
the first day of the trip.
Yep.
And then I think that might have been the trip I drank the menu too.
I think that was the trip.
I think it was. That was a good week for me.
Yeah, I was like, very good. Yeah, you were peak Josh at that point in time.
I mean, it's always a good week when you get bullied into ordering a steak. You got to twist my arm to order a steak. Like, I mean, what am I gonna do? But
it could have been like 2 years ago where I got bullied into drinking Weller with PDT and Caleb. So
yeah,
I mean, that was COVID, I barely survived.
Thanks for reminding me about that. Fortnite is fun. He's coming back in here. He cannot take a short price on any horse with ugliness on its PPs. Don't want an ugly PP for sure. Too bad, dude. Man, why can't we still be sponsored by Manscaped? That'd be like a great, great little segue there. But
dude, I have heard so much about Chunk of Gold, and I don't get it at all.
I like Chunk of Gold. I mean, he's not my
heard
pick,
so many people like getting super excited about a 30-1 that's shipping in from Turfway. It's like, okay, sure.
Oh, Marco's asking if Josh is a vegetarian. Why do you need to be bullied to order a steak? Look, it was on somebody else's dime. And I was just doing a nice thing, right? You never order the most expensive thing when
he was
going to
get like a burger or something. He was trying to be
I was going to get a burger. I was trying to be
This
nice.
is after we talked about steaks like all day.
That was true. And after I had about 14 cocktails. I think that's how many 1863 Club had. So yeah, honestly, so he's on Chunk of Gold. Caleb, I feel like this is the horse that you were on in the Lecomte, and I think I'm coming back to the well on this, and that's the 9 built. I'm coming back to the well on this horse. I thought, I don't know if it was just the muddy ground or what, but like we thought that this horse was going to be on the lead, didn't get the trip, and you see Luis Saez getting the board, you see Jareth getting off. I mean, if you liked him last time, I don't know how you don't go back to the well here because, I mean, all signs point to go here. I mean, you got all kinds of improvement coming in here. I mean, Wayne Catalano actually is very good third off the layoff as well. So, I mean, this is a horse that fired fresh. I could see a step forward from that gun runner. And if he takes a step forward from that gun runner, I mean, I don't know. I think he's going to be tough to beat here. So this is actually my top pick in this race. I'm going to go with the 9 built here. And Caleb, are you on built here?
With you, Josh. I'm back to built. Regressed a touch in the Lecomte, but I really think that was just, a factor of the sloppy ground. And, the trip was a little bit, not ideal. He did get shuffled going into that turn and lost some ground and had to sort of re-rally and then just got nailed late by the Brad Cox horse Disco Time. I think you're getting a monumental jockey upgrade from Jareth Loveberry to Luis Saez in here. And I expect him to be more forwardly placed, probably not on the lead, but certainly more forwardly placed with one of the best finishers in the game and a nice wide post to avoid any of the nonsense in the turn like he had last time. So yeah, I think Built is also my top pick. But yeah, again, to the chat angle, who are all over Chunk of Gold. Yeah, I mean, probably my second pick in here. Yeah, he was flying in that Leonada Stakes at Turfway. That was blue color coded fractions on time for him, very slow pace. Leader went wire to wire, and he was just flying late. I like the fact that he shows up here. He might be more likely to get a piece than win, but I see what everyone else sees about this horse, so I don't know that we get 30-1.
Yeah, I'll hop over to my top choice before I talk about a couple others, and that's the 7 Septarian. Who
Oh, I was about to ask, why is the horse even here? And of course, that's Mark's top choice.
Of course, it's my top choice. Yeah. So if you actually watch that Mucho Macho Man, it was a merry-go-round. The horse broke on top, wired, and they went 1, 2, 3 all the way around the track. Septarian was the only, well, I should say 1, 2 all the way around the track. Septarian was the only horse to make up any ground in that race. Closed from being probably 5th or 6th earlier. And then closed up and ran a decent third in a race that just kind of held together, and they merry-go around. This is a horse that has 2 wins in the Mid-Atlantic, gets transferred to the Chad Brown barn, runs I think a sneaky good race in that Mucho Macho Man, and then he's shipping this horse into this race. I realize this is a huge step up. I realize there's a lot of question marks. The pedigree is definitely suspect. All the things. But this is the kind of horse that, he's improved all 3 of his first 3 starts. Chad hopefully has him a little more figured out. Blinks go on, which is a phenomenal angle for Chad. He's about 30% with that move. And you're getting possibly the world's biggest jock upgrade going from Gaff to Pratt. So, I don't know. There's an argument made that maybe this was just, airplane fill or van fill or whatever you want to call it for some of the other Chads that are more well met in other spots. There's also a take, I think, in here that this is a really well met horse in this spot that has a lot of upside, and he doesn't need to take a huge step forward to be a major player in this race. So I think he's an interesting shot if you get anywhere around that 12-1 morning line. If he takes a ton of money and ends up at 6 or 8-1, I'm not interested at all. But in a race where I just didn't really love any of the short prices and I felt like I needed to pick a horse, that's where I landed.
Don't you have to be a little concerned about the fact that Guns Loaded and Treaty of Rome ran last in their next 2 races at the Holy Bull and the Tampa Bay Derby last week? I mean, that race came back terrible.
Of course. Yeah, of course. There's an argument to be made that Mucho Macho Man is just a terrible race. Everybody is suspect as hell, and that totally. And that's why I was saying you have to get the right price. If you get somewhere around that morning line, I think you're getting paid to find out. If this horse takes a bunch of money and ends up, like I said, 6 or 8-1, then no, not interested at all. You just have to get the right price.
Fair enough. Yeah, to me, the horse makes so little sense; it almost makes sense because it makes so little sense. It's almost like. Chad must know something I don't but I don't know what else. But yeah,
I mean, he's got a couple of Eclipse awards that imply that he knows 1 or 2 things about
you know the occasional thing around.
I'll give him a shot, and and I also think if you watch that, and again, maybe that Mucho Macho Man was just a terrible race, to your point, but also if you watch the ride, I have no idea what on earth Gaff was doing with that horse. Go back and watch the race; it was bizarre. So. He was about 3 wide through both corners. It was more than that, probably like 5 wide through both corners. Made a weird kind of middle move and then flattened out coming down the lane. And it was just a weirdly managed race.
Anything else you guys want to talk about in this race?
Not really. I mean, I did kind of, try to make an argument for the 1. I mean, it's a Dwayne Lucas horse, so he's already run 14 times in January. But the horse is, with the exception of that one regression when he caught a sloppy track for the first time at Churchill, the horse has actually like incrementally moved forward in every single race on time form, even if the results haven't necessarily backed it up. He's one that I find a little bit curious, but I just don't know if he's good enough to duel and put away East Avenue and then hold off the closers. He probably is not. But, he's one that I kind of give a glance at.
Now, Caleb, how much of this is a trying to stop another horse that was named American that was trained by D. Wayne Lucas that just
there's no
absolutely destroyed
butterflies
you.
involved on this one, but it crossed my mind.
A good old American butterfly. Well, they're walking to the gate here at Turfway. Thank you guys for sticking with us tonight. Yeah, Marco saying Gap's been riding horrible at Gulfstream this meet. Russ, he thinks that McPeak feels that Render Judgment was a Derby horse, but that was back in early November. So
one other real quick horse before we jump off the race. I don't know if everybody's got their stuff closed down.
Yeah,
Everybody give the Todd horse Vassimo any look. Again, fairly lightly raced, 2 for 2 lifetime. It needs a step forward on figures, but has a pedigree. Nyquist by Paul Butt on the bottom should stretch out fine. Rad stays there. I thought was an interesting horse that maybe a little bit of an outsider, but an interesting other horse to play around with in there. I had listed as a B for me.
There was a point where Todd just owned the Fairgrounds for one of these days, but I feel like that point has not been recently, and I just haven't been impressed with it. I mean, he is undefeated, but I just haven't been impressed with his races from a figure standpoint or just visually. So
cool.
He needs to get a lot faster, I think.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. He definitely needs to take a step forward to be a player here.
They're off at Turfway. Did anyone bet anything?
I got the 4-7-11 for $1 pick 3, which will pay between $60 and $80. So we're getting pizza money.
Yeah,
right. We bet burger
bet
money, and we might get pizza money back. So
I actually like the 1 in here a little bit on the stretch out. I thought the 7 was most likely, but it's hard for me to do much with a 2 for 26 lifetime horse. I think he's the favorite, but
this is a pretty flat race actually, betting wise. I mean, the 7 went off as your favorite at 3-1.
The 9 looked like the lone speed out there, but the way speeds, and I was initially higher on him, but it doesn't seem like that's really been holding, via the chat and the couple races we've watched. So I thought the 1
he's doing it pretty easy up there right now, though.
I mean, he's 49 and change by himself, but look how strung out they are. I mean, it's a bad field, but looks like the 11's got some run, if anybody.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet the 11. That was the optics horse in here, if you're a believer in the circles and squares.
I might need to be a believer in something else to get this ticket home, because this 9. Oh, maybe the 9's hitting that same wall that the 5 found last.
Well, cool. That gets me back to even on the evening then. That's nice.
There you go. Nice, Mark. There you go. And get the 11 home. 11, 9, 7. What did Russ there. Russ also on the 11. There we go.
Yeah.
Nick Sievers had $5 to show because he's just trying to get. He's just trying to get.
So funny. I respect that so much.
I get the respect, all the respect in the world for that.
Yeah, he basically said that there were people in that contest that weren't showing the minimums, and granted, I'm not the biggest. I bet a ton of Churchill Downs own tracks, right? But I'm not the biggest Twin Spires fan. I mean, I use Brisnet, right? So I use products Churchill, and I bet a lot of Churchill Downs tracks. But I just, for some reason, Twin Spires has never clicked with me. But I will say that their tournaments are awesome.
Wonderful.
Mostly because it's the only way you can play tournaments with their tracks. But I don't know. I've always had a lot of fun with Express Bet when they do their little feeders, and they'll be an $80 feeder, and it's just but they usually just do win place, right? Well, with Twin Spires, you can actually do basically the full live money kind of thing, and it's just at a smaller bankroll, and you can win seats into bigger contests and things like that, and that's nice. So you get 6-1 on that horse. I'm gonna get about $80 back on my pick 3, and I'm gonna get 4 out of 5 on my pick 5, which will probably pay another $10 or so. So
that's rough, Josh.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I missed a 25-1 horse, so I can't be that mad, right?
It was all chalk and one bomb, right?
yeah. I hit a bunch of chalk. I hit a 6-1 horse, and then I missed the 24-1. So Like you can't be that mad. But yeah, I appreciate all you guys for tuning in. Obviously, we'll be live every Thursday. Going to keep this going, through Derby season and through the summer. No drinking champagne this week, but tomorrow we will be recording an episode of You've Got to Be Shot Tinning Me. So we'll be talking about some more shot tin racing on Saturday night, and then I believe what is next week? Is next week Rebel?
I think it is
It
Rebel.
feels about right. Yeah.
Yeah. What is the 20? What is next week?
I think it's Rebel, then Fountain of Youth.
22nd.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep. Rebel. Yeah. So we got Rebel, and then we got Big Cap the week after that. Does Big Cap still matter?
I just saw
Does
somebody shipping. Is it Locked is going to the Big Cap? I think they said.
That would make sense. But yeah, the Big Cap weekend is the same weekend as Fountain of Youth, which I know is Steven's. Steven's really excited about that. But Russ saying, "Darn, not enough time for the Sunland Derby." Marco asking if we're going to Vegas for the NHC at the end of February. No, but Caleb and I will be in Vegas the first weekend in March. So, less than a month away.
Dude, it's like 2 weeks away.
Dude, can you believe that?
3 weeks.
I can't believe it. It's like creeping up. Did you actually book a hotel and you got flight and everything?
Yeah, I'm booked.
Okay, nice. We'll see. Suddenly PDT and Rubes they fell off the face of the earth when it came to that. But
Time to book.
It's all right. We'll have a good time. And we got dinner booked, and you said you're flying in Friday night or Friday morning?
Friday morning, Sunday morning, yeah.
Nice, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna have coworkers in town because there's a big board game convention that week. So what's funny is because you were coming in so late, we were I was going to like go to the convention for like 2 days with them because I was like, Gary's gonna be asleep till 3 both days. So it's like, dude, I could go to the convention for like 3/4 of the day, come back, and he won't even be awake yet. So, and then since I'm gonna be flying in Wednesday morning or Wednesday afternoon, like I'm like, well, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm not gonna probably not gonna do anything during the day, but then we'll see what happens. But hopefully, we'll be able to go to that Knights game, or I mean, I don't know if you're gonna be wearing all your Penguins gear though. I don't know. That might be
What are they going to do? They've been fans for 15 minutes. What are they going to do?
Well, that's going to do it for us. Obviously, check us out at ontherwronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. I am at Cherry Drank. Mark is at 2 Turns. Caleb's at Caleb WVU. Good luck. Let's make some money. And hopefully Nick won that contest. We'll see what happens.